We are not afraid. We are not afraid.
This videotape presents the untold story of the chemical poisoning of Columbia, Mississippi. Has the chemical contamination in Columbia been cleaned up? How sick are the residents who live next to the site? And how wide an area has been exposed to toxics? What is the truth? And Jesus' apostle wrote, "Those who live by the truth come to the light, so that it may be clearly seen that God is in all they do."
Running into the sewage.
Throughout the nearly 6-year-long cleanup process, Betty Mingo of Jesus People Against Pollution videotaped events from the other side of the fence.
From behind the orange fences, that is what you call the immediate hot spot, that is left open with nothing to cover it.
Stockpiles of excavated site soils from both Operable Unit 1 and Operable Unit 2 were left uncovered and open to the atmosphere. This was done twice, and the practice is not acceptable, especially since the stockpiles were directly upwind of the neighboring community. Dr. Catherine Hunanen, Human Health Risk Assessment.
See that tree over there? But they loading it up.
You can have sleep, you can breathe, and the window that's blowing your window, you had to close your window down, and you just cook. You couldn't call it cook, or you afraid the stuff would get in your pot. It's just been misery.
Just like the EPA and all says, it don't affect you. There's no germs outside of there. You know, I don't believe them. I don't believe a word they say. Because you can't tell me that I just live at a cyclone fence. Is all that's separating my land from their land? And there's nothing on my land? I don't believe them, no.
Columbia firefighter Robert Holmes remembers that the ground on the site was so contaminated that oftentimes the dirt would actually catch fire.
Well, the ground would catch fire down underneath it. And it'd be just a crack, just a hairline crack on top of the ground, and there'd be smoke coming out of it. And then you start digging there, and there would be fire underneath it.
The sudden discovery of the previously unknown contamination at the North Pond in 1994, after nearly 6 years of EPA presence, raised questions about the competency of the entire cleanup process. Questions some cleanup workers had themselves.
I know they would go down and they would dig down so deep and so far, and they would haul dirt up there, and they was bringing it up there, and they was storing it up there. And they, all of a sudden, some guy looked at it and said, "Well, this is good now. This is good dirt." And none of those guys didn't work in no laboratory that I know of. They wasn't qualified to come and say, "Well, this area here is clean, or that area is clean."
I'd go down there and I never would say anything if there was meetings they had at the high school. And the EPA would tell you where the barrels were buried at. And I sat out there and watched them at night, bury some. And they said never would come up with that site. And I told them, I said, "Y'all got a site that is not even on there." And they said there wasn't no site there, but the next day they dug up about 25 or 30 drums there.
And they take the EPA man around there, and they go around and let him see what they want him to see. He didn't go and pick no spot and just go where he wanted to see. Well, whatever they took him, there'd be 10 or 12 of them. Whatever way they would go around and take him, they just let him on around. And he just go wherever they took him.
No samples were analyzed for dioxins and furans at any off-site locations, and only surface soils, not sediments, were characterized in the Operable Unit 1 record of investigation. Dr. Catherine Hunanen, Human Health Risk Assessment.
The record of decision issued by EPA defines the Reichhold site as 81 acres in size, but maps and other information from 3 decades before show the site to be perhaps as many as 25 acres larger.
Well, they say that the site encompasses 81 acres. And in actuality, according to the maps from the 60s and the 50s, you will see that the site entails 105 acres.
We excavated sludgy, liquidy materials from the East Columbia apartments, which had a noxious odor and contained some garbage. 6 trucks hauled this sludge for 2 to 3 days. Statement by Handy Willis, a private contractor for Wallace Construction, June 10, 1993.
The 20-plus acres that are not included in the EPA Record of Decision now are the site of private homes and the East Columbia apartment complex.
These are apartments that was built after the March 1977 major gas explosion. They built these elderly and handicapped apartments in the early 80s, in 1981 or 82, somewhere in that time frame. Some of them, when they came into the complexes, come in walking. And when they leave out, they either leave out on a stretcher, dead, or they wind up with major health problems in the process.
Residents of the neighborhoods that surround the Reichold Superfund site all have their stories of illness and death. The story of the Robert Holmes family is typical.
And I got a daughter, she's 24, and she's been sick ever since she's been here. But since she moved away, about 2 years after she moved away, she started getting better. And I got a daughter in North Carolina. Her nose bled the whole time we lived here. And I reckon it was 2 or 3 years after she moved away, her nose don't hardly ever bleed anymore. Well, I got a son, he's 19, he's been ill ever since he's been born, raised here, he's been ill.
This is how we used to get over there and play in the field when we was real little. I was like in kindergarten. It was like in '83. And it's grown up kind of a bit, but right over there in the corner there's a fence, and you could pull it up and crawl underneath it. It's still like it, they never did fix it. And we would climb through there, or sometimes go through the drainage pipe, and you could get over there in that field. And we used to play baseball, soccer, and all that stuff. Kickball, we played all kinds of games over there.
Ball, let's go.
There he goes.
This is the Duckworth Community Park for our Webb Quarter community. This park is housing what we call the Jingling Creek. Jingling Creek now no longer have waters that run down in the middle of this park as it once have when I was a young child. They rerouted the waters since JPEP have actually formed and begin to deal with the contamination in the water supply.
Down here at this young park, my kids and other kids used to go down there and swim, and they went to breaking out with soda and stuff, and we thought it was from them throwing in the water, you know, but shortly after that, they found out that the kids were breaking out. They come down and brought a dozer and stuff down there and covered that thing up. And they didn't tell us anything, why they covered it up or nothing.
They closed the swimming pool down because a lot of the complaints that the people was having concerning their children's sicknesses. We had a lot of children, such as myself as one, breaking out with a lot of skin rashes, having abnormal bleeding problems, having a lot of headaches, kidney problems.
The residents living in the neighborhood surrounding the Reichold site were exposed from runoff and flooding during times of heavy rain.
It floods, it gets up, and then when it started going down, they could make excuses. They came down here and looked at it. That's all. They came over there and looked at it. And they were talking about they had to see somebody about putting a sewage line, putting a drainage through there, but they ain't been back.
This whole land was covered with water. And then they tell me nothing come over here. I'm old, I know good and well it's not healthy.
We used to have a little garden in the backyard back there. And we had our hose down there, and when that flood come, 3 of our hose died. I guess they must have trucked that water or something.